Stephen A. sound with regard to Kevin Durant, and without playing it again, if you're just joining us, it basically confirms Kevin Durant, ill-fitting, not happy at all. Teammates not happy with how the roles sort of fell all the way around. And then add in the financial situation, and he suggests that you've got to break up the Suns. And I agree with him completely. And there's only one way to do it realistically, and that is to move Kevin Durant. But when you hear that, Kevin unhappy, ... again. We've done a lot of discussing in the last couple of weeks whether or not Kevin Durant is somebody you want. Is he gettable? What would that cost? What about from this angle? Just that emotional side of Kevin always seemingly not being happy where he is. Does he fit back on a team that has Draymond Green on the roster?
Only Draymond and he know that. I mean, how did it end? We know that there was a blow up. We don't know the exact nature of how bad it got behind closed doors. We do know that when Kevin Durant's time here was up, he moved on. And there wasn't any additional back and forth that was made public about Draymond and Kevin Durant. They never, went back and forth. It seems like when they saw each other on the court, it was more than congenial. It was friendly and all the rest of it. Yep. And, I think that the two of them, if they can put whatever happened in the past, if they can let bygones be bygones, then I don't see why Kevin Durant can't come back here and try to give it a go again. For me, the interesting question is, why is Kevin having such a difficult time enjoying wherever he is? That is something that I don't know if anyone can answer.
Well, here's what I wonder about his time with the Warriors. Here's what I really wonder. And you said only Draymond and Kevin can answer that. And I would say only Kevin, actually. Only Kevin can answer this. Now that you've left and you went and experienced other things and you wanted to try to do it your own way and it didn't work, do you now look back on your time with the Warriors more fondly? This is one of those relationships, and we've all had them, where you're broken up and then 8 years later you look back and you're like, why did we break up? Why did that go so? I can't even remember. Like, there was never any, it wasn't dramatic. Do you look back on the Warriors if you're Kevin and think, man, I actually had it pretty good? And my guess, and this is just a guess, but knowing now that they are 36 and 35 and 33 and 33 years old, what was the big four? Now that they're there and they have openly talked so much more about the time that they have left and enjoying that time, and we ain't done yet, and trying to win one more. Whether it's realistic or not, I don't even want to get into that right now. I want to get into, do you think that all four of them simply look at an opportunity like this differently because they know, dude, you have almost no time left. And in fact, with the young talent that now exists in the NBA, everyone's going to doubt whether adding Kevin Durant would even be enough anyway. Everyone will doubt that. But literally, I can look at all four of you and do the Princess Leia. You're each other's only hope. You're literally each other's only hope. How else are you going to put together a viable shot at moving through the playoffs if you're Steph Curry, if you're Draymond Green, if you're Kevin Durant, and even if you're Klay Thompson? And yes, this may call for Klay to take that cockamamie contract that none of us think he'll take. If you really, truly want to give a shot to a playoff run one more time, I think I could make the case that you are all each other's only hope.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors would have a few other possible targets. You mentioned Brandon Ingram before as a guy who they could go out and get. And would he fit better for the next 2 years than Kevin Durant? I don't know. I don't personally think so. I think Kevin Durant would be the fit. He knows how to play with these guys. They've won together before. The big question would be health, obviously, and durability with the ages you just mentioned of these players. And Kevin will be 36 in September 29th. So right before the season actually opens, you'll have Steph at 36, turning 37, KD at 36, and Draymond and Klay, if he does stay in that scenario under that contract. It would be exciting at the very least, that's for sure. And the mechanics of making this happen would involve the Chris Paul contract being guaranteed and accepted. You probably would have to part with, I know, at least another player. Maybe it's Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I'm still
and
going.
Maybe it's a pick or two. Whatever it is you have to give up, it would be worth it for a couple of years to see if you can make this work.
I am going right back to the deal that we put on social media when I said it 2 weeks ago. And I got there were tons of people that were like, that deal looks great. There were so many more who were like, there's no way in hell. Why would the Suns do that? You got to understand the spot the Suns are in. They are up a creek. And the number one thing, by the way, that they don't have, if you just want to talk about basketball, do you want to know what the Suns don't have? They don't have a point guard. They do not have a point guard. They tried to give the job to two people who aren't point guards.
Right.
They need a point guard, and they need to clear money. I have an idea that can give you both. His name is Chris Paul, and he will expire in 1 year, and you can get all kinds of money off of your books. You're probably not going to be any worse for wear in the standings. You can put Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody and a couple of draft picks on your team, too. You can do that, and I think that's a viable deal. I know that people are like, Suns aren't going to do that. The Suns, in my opinion, don't have much choice.
They don't, yeah. Yeah, and even if they took Chris back and they cut him, then you could go out and find a way to get a different point guard. And I think that's the most. Ramona Shelburne joined us, and she said, it's not about taking Chris the player, it's about taking Chris the contract for whoever would possibly want to trade for Chris Paul. Because, yeah, you can trade $50 million in KD and you get $50 million back, and then you take $30 million of it and you just wipe it off your books, and therefore you have a big-time savings, and you get below the second apron as well.
I just think also, don't you agree that like Joe Lacob has spent 2 years being like, it's time to cut some money?
Yeah.
There's no way he says no to this.
Right.
There's no way he's a showman. There's no way that you don't do this if the opportunity presents itself.
Agreed. And he wants to be below the second apron, but he wants to win more than he wants to be below the second apron, I believe. And especially after this year where we're not going to be a lottery team. Our goal is to never be in the lottery. And not only were you in the lottery, but you weren't really in the lottery because even your team placard didn't get shown. You got the 14th pick, and they didn't even do you the honor of putting your sign up there. They went straight to Portland.
They just gave it straight to Portland.
They went straight to Portland.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, you are a lottery team. And Joe Lacob knows that, and I'm sure it burns him every time he thinks about that, or he puts on one of these sports channels and he sees NBA games, and it's like, God, we should be playing in these games.
I mean, you're talking about money and winning, but I want to add like one more sort of like tweak to that. Yes, I do think that the Warriors probably think that that's somewhat of a winning group. I think a lot of people would disagree, because it's still a really old group. It's still a very old group. But what I don't think Joe could pass up is the fact that it's such a show. Like, how do you turn that down? I could argue that the Nuggets or Celtics could win the NBA title. Let's go with the Nuggets, because it would be 2 in a row. The Nuggets could win the NBA title for the second year in a row. And the Warriors could be the team that all the national TV networks want next fall.
Right.
If Kevin Durant's on the team. That is box office team A. 1A. Period. They would be the team, at least to start the year. And as an owner who's financially tied to all of this, how do you say no to that? I don't think he would. I don't think he would. I think that they can put together the package. I think they can do it without moving Jonathan Kuminga. And quite frankly, even if they had to move Jonathan Kuminga, I'm not 100% sure that they're closed to that. I know Ramona told us that that is just like pretty much off the table, but we've heard plenty of others say the opposite. I don't know where the Warriors are on that. I'd really hate to see him go, But like I said, I don't think there's any way that the Warriors pass on the opportunity to be the show of the NBA again.
Well, especially when you think about what the window is. And, we all want to maximize the Steph Curry window. And it's 2 years right now. He's under contract for 2 more years. And then who knows what's going to happen. Retirement, extension, play elsewhere. It's going to be one of those 3, you would imagine. He either signs an extension and stays here, or he decides he wants to play elsewhere, or he just decides that he's done playing basketball. You don't know what Steph Curry's going to do. I don't even know if the Warriors know what his plans are.
I don't know if Steph knows.
Right. I mean, you look at 2 years, though, and you think, how can we possibly make one last cut at this? And if it's Kevin Durant, even if it costs you Jonathan Kuminga, I think you probably make that move.
Oh.
I would.
Oh.
That might be what it takes.
Well, remember now, the Suns can't take back more money in a deal. I don't want to get into all of those stupid weeds, but the Suns can't take back more money than
what they give up. Not even $1 more.
Yeah.
Neither can the Warriors, though.
Right. I don't even know how the hell that works. How do you line the money up exactly right?
Well, I think the Warriors would have to get out of the second apron first, which changes the rules on how you can make these contracts.
So that deal would just have to be kind of held for a little while into July.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd have to work that out.
Doable. Always a way.
Exactly.
Always a way.
And I think for me, the fundamental first question that the Warriors have to ask themselves, and I'm sure they already have an answer, is Jonathan Kuminga touchable or untouchable? And I would imagine that inside the building down there at Chase Center, they know how they feel about Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think that there is, I don't think that there's confusion about whether or not they think that he's going to be tradable or not.
No, I don't think there's confusion. I think that they would be very, very hesitant. It would have to absolutely blow them away, but maybe the name Kevin Durant does. Maybe it does. I just look at it this way. If Kuminga were in the deal, don't you think the Suns would be like, oh, we're doing that for sure? Like if you're offering the Paul contract, Jonathan Kuminga, probably a draft pick or 2, and you'd have to do more financially.
Right.
So it's like, my gosh, is Wiggins going too, or are you sending out Moody? Are you talking about either of last year's rookies?
Maybe Kavan, who's making 8. He's a guy who I think that can sweeten a deal. Gary Payton's another one. I mean, you're dealing with just contracts at that point and numbers. Ideally, the Warriors would keep Gary Payton the second, I think, and rework his deal. Kavan's the one I'm worried about.
I mean, totally fake conversation that I'm making up out of thin air. But if you were able to do it and go, the Warriors want to send Wiggins, but the Suns are like, no, Kuminga. Who blinks first?
Probably the Warriors, if they want Kevin Durant that badly. I mean, it depends on how you feel about Jonathan Kuminga. And that's where fans are already lining up to burn me at the stake. And other fans are like, yeah, Dibs, I agree with you.
Well, sure.
The idea of trading Kuminga. He is a very polarizing player,
no doubt,
among the fan base. Some think that he's going to be the next greatest thing in history, and others think that he's an overrated player.
Javi Lopez is coming up in like 5 or 6 minutes, so let's squeeze Miguel and Hayward in. Hey, Miguel, what's going on? What are you doing?
Hey, what's up, you guys? Oh, nothing much. Just driving to work. But, hey, I like the topic that you guys are talking about right now. Man, I would do this trade in a heartbeat. If I got to get rid of Kuminga to get Kevin Durant, I would do it ASAP. Man, it would just send a good message out to the Warrior players. You know what? We're back to winning championships, and we're back in the playoffs. And just like you said, if the Denver Nuggets win the championship this year, you're definitely, they're definitely going to be there, like in the Western Conference Finals, and the Warriors are going to be right there too. So, if I'm the owner, I gotta pull this trade because Curry only got 2 more years, and that's all I have, you guys. I love y'all show.
Miguel, thanks. Appreciate it. I mean, I know what a lot of people, we've been over this a whole lot. A lot of people are like, my God, you can do this, but boy, this is 3 years from now, you are a hot mess. A bunch of retired players, you have no picks, you got no assets, you got no Kuminga, you're a total hot mess. And I understand that. I do think it's a little bit of acting from fear, though. Because right now, whether we think so or not, none of us have there's nothing that's guaranteed 3 years from now.
Right.
I have no idea if Jonathan Kuminga is a 1 or even a 2 in 3 years. I really don't.
Right, and you also don't know if Joe Lacob would have the ability to lure a free agent at that point. Maybe it's Anthony Edwards in 3 years from now when his contract is, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a player who is yet to even think about his own free agency, and maybe the Warriors can reboot it that way. You just never know.